The sun was low over the horizon, painting the dusty main street of Igbroodo in molten gold. Marcus walked the ice-guard road toward the old family compound, each step stirring pale clouds of sand beneath his polished leather shoes. He could feel eyes on him, gossip-hungry neighbors peering from verandas, children pausing their games to whisper his name. But all Marcus could think of was the rustling of silk behind the funeral tent, where Elara sat, head bowed, waiting for him to make good on a promise. Only 2 nights earlier, on her deathbed, his grandmother gripped his hand so fiercely that he thought her bones would crack. Between labored breaths she had said, "Grandmother," voice raspy, "promise me, Marcus, promise you'll look after Elara. Keep her safe when I'm gone. She's all we have left of the Onafade line." He remembered the shimmer in his grandmother's eyes, equal parts pride and sorrow, as he nodded. Elara, dark-skinned and slender, had sat by the bedside clutching yards of her grandmother's embroidered wrapper. When the old woman exhaled her last breath, Marcus pressed the pillow over his face and wept, both for the loss of his grandmother and for the debt he had just inherited. Now, beneath the white tent, with the wind tugging at the skirts of mourning robes, Marcus knelt before Elara. The drums of distant ceremonial songs sounded like a warning. "Marcus," quietly, "Elara, about that promise." She lifted her gaze, eyes the color of night, rimmed red with grief. He could see the questions burning there. Why him? Why this? But he spoke before he could think. "Marcus, I will marry you. On my grandmother's grave, I swear it." A gasp rippled through the onlookers. Elara shook her head. "Elara," voice trembling, "no, Marcus. You can't." "Marcus," voice breaking, "I must. I owe her that much. I owe you that much." Tears streamed down her cheeks as the promise sealed itself between them, a bond forged not in love but in loyalty to a dying wish. All around them, the sacred town shrubs rustled as though judging his vow. He rose, extended a hand that trembled. She took it, pale fingers pressing into his palm. And in that moment, neither of them knew whether they had sealed a blessing or a curse. The morning of the wedding arrived under a cloud of dread. The small chapel was decorated with strings of jasmine and sundial leaves, but the air felt heavy, like a storm about to break. Elara sat alone in the bridal room, her dark curls pinned back with a single silver comb, her grandmother's comb. In the dusty mirror, she studied herself in the old lace gown, the hem trailing over worn floorboards. Every stitch spoke of tradition, of duty. A knock at the door rattled her back to reality. "Maid, peeking in, Miss Elara, aunties are waiting. The groom has already arrived." She swallowed, touched the silver comb, and walked out. The pews were silent save for a few stiff nods from distant relatives. Marcus stood at the altar, his suit crisp but his shoulders stooped. He didn't smile, didn't glance her way. Instead, his eyes fixed on the carved wooden lectern as if it held the answers he couldn't find in her gaze. When she reached him, the priest began the rites. Each vow they spoke felt hollow. "Priest, Marcus Onafade, do you take Elara as your wife, to honor your grandmother's wish?" "Marcus," voice distant, "I do." "Priest, Elara Ogenrind, do you take Marcus to be your husband?" "Elara," voice barely more than a whisper, "I do." No rings were exchanged, his grandmother's wedding bands lay with her bones. Instead, the priest bound their wrists with a woven cloth, knotting the promise into flesh. When he finished, no cheers rose. A single clap sounded, uncertain, awkward. And then the guests filed out, eager to escape the oppressive silence that hung like a second skin. Later, as they stood outside the chapel, Marcus pulled Elara aside. "Marcus," softly, "are you all right?" She looked up, eyes hollow. "Elara, I'm fine." He reached for her hand, she jerked away. "Marcus, Elara, I know this is." "Elara," cutting him off, "don't. Just don't." And with that, she turned and vanished into the crowd. Marcus watched her go, heart pounding. This was supposed to honor his grandmother. Instead, it felt like betrayal. The first nights in the Onifade guest house were icy. The compound's central courtyard, once bustling with laughter and shade, felt cavernous and cold. Elara slept in the room opposite Marcus's, 2 doors away, separated by a narrow corridor. They communicated only through curt nods at meals, the clang of spoons on plates filling the spaces where words should have been. Each morning, Marcus rose early to help run the small livestock business his grandmother left him. Elara spent those hours in the workshop where she absorbed her grandmother's final gifts, bolts of cloth, patterns, and the faded leather sketchbook she had kept hidden. During the sweltering afternoons when guests came begging for small loans or gifts, Marcus would glance into the workshop window to find her bent over a desk, pencil moving like a bird across paper. He wanted to speak, to bridge the distance, but pride and guilt held him back. Instead, he swallowed each question, locked it away in the same chest where he stored his grandmother's final words. One evening, as summer storms rolled in, thunder grumbled overhead. He found Elara at the courtyard well, filling a clay pot. Raindrops began to fall, hissing on hot stone. He stepped forward. "Marcus, let me help." She handed him the pot without looking. "Elara, you don't need to help me." "Marcus, I know, but I want to." She paused, jaw clenched. "Elara, why are you even here, Marcus? You didn't choose me." His fingers curled around the pot's rim. "Marcus, I chose to keep my word." She met his eyes then, lightning bright. "Elara, a promise made in death isn't love. It's obligation. And obligations can be broken." Without waiting for his answer, she turned and dashed back inside. He stood in the rain, the clay pot slipping from his hands and shattering at his feet. The sound echoed as loudly as her words. By the lamplit glow of a single lantern, Elara picked up the leather sketchbook. The pages were worn, each crease a testament to her hidden life. She flipped to a fresh sheet and traced the outline of a gown she had dreamed that morning, off-shoulder neckline, flowing hem, geometric patterns inspired by the town's matriarchal embroidery. Her pencil danced, each line precise, each stroke imbued with longing. In her mind, she saw the dress on a runway in Lagos, the crowd gasping at her vision. She saw herself, dark-skinned and radiant, commanding the stage. A soft knock startled her. She nearly dropped the book. Voice, tentative. "Elara? Are you still awake?" She pressed the book to her chest. "Elara, no. Go back to." Voice, "It's me, Marcus." He stood in the doorway, silhouetted by moonlight. He held a tray with 2 cups of tea. "Marcus, you left this downstairs." She sighed and set the sketchbook aside. "Elara, thank you." He set the tray on a small wooden stool and drew a chair beside her. "Marcus, I didn't realize you could draw." She tucked a stray curl behind her ear. "Elara, it was my grandmother's talent. She wanted to pass it on." He picked up the sketchbook and opened it. The pages revealed gowns, tunics, even traditional wrappers, each more daring than the last. "Marcus," soft smiled, "these are incredible." She looked at him, surprised. "Elara, you think so?" "Marcus, yes. I never knew." A charged silence hung between them. The tea grew cold, forgotten. "Elara," quietly, "I don't show them because I don't expect anyone here to understand." He closed the book gently. "Marcus, I want to understand." She met his gaze, uncertain, vulnerable. "Elara, you can't protect me from everyone." "Marcus, I don't want to protect you, I'll help you. If you let me." Tears welled in her eyes. For the first time since the vow, she nodded. And in that nod was a fragile truce, a bridge across the chasm of duty that bound them. Word traveled faster than fire in a dry grassland. By dawn, the town was alive with gossip. Elara Ogenrind, the silent bride, is a designer now. Marcus Onifade must have fallen in love. Who knew the poor girl had such talent? The market buzzed, every tongue wagging and every ear straining. Elara discovered the whispers at the pottery stand. While selecting a new water jug, the potter winked at her and said, "Potter, loudly Miss Elara, word is you'll clothe half of Lagos next season." Other customers turned. Elara forced a polite smile, paid for the jug, and fled into a narrow alley. The walls pressed in on her, the sun searing overhead. Her heart pounded, not with excitement, but with dread. That evening, she found Marcus pacing the courtyard, arms folded. "Elara, they're talking about me." He stopped, shadowed by lamplight. "Marcus, I heard." "Elara, they think I'm some genius. They want samples. Orders. Invitations to festivals." She ground her jaw. "Elara, I never asked for any of this." He stepped closer. "Marcus, you deserve it." She laughed, a short, bitter laugh. "Elara, deserve?" "Marcus, I'm still your prisoner here." He reached out, took her hand. "Marcus, not prisoner. Partner." She pulled away. "Elara, it's too late for that." The moon rose, pale and witness to their stalemate. Below, the town carried on, unaware that its whispers had unearthed something dangerous, hope. Because once the world saw her worth, it would be impossible to cage her again. And for the first time, Marcus feared the promise he had sworn would bind them together might be the very chain he couldn't break. Elara woke to the low hum of roosters crowing beyond the guesthouse walls. Faint dawnlight filtered through woven bamboo slats, painting stripes across the simple clay floor. Today was her 24th birthday, a date she had marked in her mind like a promise of something better, a moment when Marcus might finally look at her and see her worth. But the hall outside her door remained silent. No soft footfall. No rustle of Marcus's uniform disappearing out the front gate. Just the wind sighing through the courtyard palms. She rose, pulling on a faded wrapper and simple blouse. In the tiny kitchen, she quietly gathered flour, sugar, and the single egg she had stashed after last week's market run. Her grandmother's old cupcake tin sat warped by heat, but she polished it until it gleamed. As the batter mixed under her careful hands, memories of childhood birthdays flooded back, laughter echoing across hills, her grandmother's songs echoing above a table laden with yams and honey-sweet cake. Here, she had none of that. No candles, no music, only the soft hiss of fire under an iron pot and her own sadness. She spooned the batter into the tin and nudged it onto the edge of the cooking hearth, adjusting coals to maintain even heat. While she waited, she etched tiny fondant flowers with a pin, coaxing beauty from scarcity. When the cupcake emerged golden and fragrant, she let herself smile. It was perfect, flaws and all. At breakfast, Marcus sat alone beneath the mulberry tree, porridge steam curling around his solemn face. Elara approached, the single cupcake balanced on a chipped saucer. "Elara, softly mourning, Marcus." He glanced up, frown creasing his brow. "Marcus, Elara, I." He cut himself off as she set the saucer beside his bowl. "Elara, it's for me. My birthday." He stared a beat too long, then bowed his head. "Marcus, I'm sorry. I forgot." Her heart stuttered. She drew in a steady breath, forcing calm. "Elara, it's okay. I didn't expect you to remember." He looked up then, as if surprised she wasn't angry. "Marcus, you deserve more than a forgotten day." She offered him a small smile. "Elara, I have this." She gestured to the cupcake. He studied its tiny fondant petals. "Marcus, quietly, it looks incredible." She shrugged. "Elara, it's nothing." He reached toward her hand, but withdrew it when she tensed. "Marcus, may I?" She nodded. He broke the cupcake in half and held each half out like a truce. She took one and bit into it. Sweetness bloomed on her tongue, but tears pricked her eyes. "Elara," voice cracking, "thank you." He swallowed hard. Marcus, happy birthday, Elara. For a moment, silence held them close. Then he stood and brushed crumbs from his lap. Marcus, I have to leave for the livestock market. I'll be back late. She nodded, watching him slip away. He didn't offer to carry any plates, didn't ask to stay. She watched the threads of his coat vanish down the road, and the ache settled in her chest. She remained under the tree long after his footsteps faded, half hopeful he'd return, half grateful for the solitude to weep. Later, as twilight fell and cicadas droned in the courtyard, she gathered the crumbs left behind and tucked them into a cloth. She pressed the cloth to her heart, as if storing a memory she couldn't let go. In that moment, the broken birthday became a crucible. She realized that if she ever wanted someone to truly celebrate her, she'd have to first celebrate herself. 2 days after her birthday, a vibrantly painted caravan rumbled into town. The merchants' carts bore silks, spices, and exotic trinkets from far-off cities. Elara watched from the compound gate as a tall, lean man with a wide-brimmed hat set up an impromptu stall in the dusty square. Curious villagers clustered around bolts of indigo cloth and jars of crimson dye. Something about the merchant's bright laughter and easy courtesy drew her forward. Marcus had left for the city that morning, and so Elara slipped out, wrapping her grandmother's shawl around her shoulders like a cloak of confidence. She approached the merchant. Merchant, smiling welcome, friend. Looking for color to brighten your life? Elara, hesitant only, these drawings. She peeled back the shawl to reveal the leather sketchbook tucked at her waist. The merchant's eyes widened as she flipped through the pages, gowns with sweeping skirts, modern tunics embroidered in geometric patterns, even reimagined head wraps that seemed to defy gravity. Merchant, these are extraordinary. He ran a hand along the paper edges, as gentle as if they were rare papyrus. A hush fell as villagers realized what they saw. Elara shrank under their gaze. Elara, quietly they're just. Merchant, interrupting no just. These are genius. He closed his own stalls, moved aside, and beckoned her closer. Merchant, tell me, have you ever sold these? Shown them beyond this notebook? Elara, no. I'm married. I don't know who'd buy. Merchant, I will. I'll pay you 500 naira for one design. She blinked, disbelief warring with desire. Elara, 500? Merchant, yes. I'll take the one with the off-shoulder neckline and tribal trim. Her fingers trembled as she tore the page free. He placed crisp bills into her hand, then handed the sketch back, flat and pristine. Merchant, keep it. Let it inspire you. Elara closed her fist around the money, warmth spreading through her palm. Elara, thank you. Merchant, leaning close tomorrow, at sunrise, bring me the final dress. I have a buyer in the city. Her heart pounded. She nodded, mouth dry. Elara, I will. As the merchant's caravan rolled out the next morning, villagers called blessings over him. Elara watched from the gate, clutching both the money and the sketch. For the first time in months, she felt a tremor of excitement, an ember of hope ready to ignite. That night, Elara lay awake on a reed mat, candle flickering at her side. She traced her grandmother's comb across the blank page in the sketchbook, planning every stitch of the promised dress. Dawn arrived too soon. Titus, her youngest nephew, pounded on the door with his small fist. Titus, whispering Auntie Elara. I want to see. She opened the door to find him wide-eyed. Titus, the whole town is talking. They say a rich merchant is coming back to buy your dress. Her pulse raced. She tucked the sketchbook under her arm and raced to the workshop. There, by the dim light of a single lantern, she cut cloth by hand, pinned patterns, and sewed seams with trembling fingers. Every snip of the scissors sounded like a drumbeat in her ears. By mid-morning, the off-shoulder gown emerged, rich indigo satin, tribal pattern trim along the hem, bell sleeves that whispered freedom with every breath of air. She slipped it on, knowing it was too large, but she'd fix it later. At sunrise, the merchant returned, dust swirling behind his cart. Marcus was there too, drawn by the commotion. Elara felt her stomach knot as she stepped forward. Merchant, gesturing, here she is. He lifted the gown from the rack. Marcus's eyes flicked from the fabric to Elara's face. He looked proud? Shocked? Elara couldn't read him. Marcus, lo, you made this? She nodded. Elara, softly, for you, I mean, for the merchant. Merchant, to Marcus, your wife is a visionary. I've never seen anything like it. He offered Marcus the bills, far more than 500. Marcus snapped his head toward Elara. Marcus, you charged him? Elara, steady, he offered. I accepted. Marcus ran a hand over his face, torn between anger, pride, and something else, admiration. Marcus, let me help you with this. He took the gown and began inspecting seams. Villagers closed in, murmuring their approval. Elara watched Marcus's sleeves roll up, his fingers tracing the fabric as though mapping her soul. Merchant, to Elara, next time, demand double. Or more. Elara blinked back tears. Elara, thank you. Marcus, without looking up, we'll discuss your cut later. She turned to him, her heart pounding. Elara, whisper, my cut? Marcus, this means you could start your own line. He met her eyes then, and for the first time saw her not as his promise, but as her own person. In the days that followed, Elara's designs became legend. Orders trickled in, wrappers for market women, tunics for local chiefs, and even tokens for passing travelers. But her hands ached from cutting and stitching by hand. She knew what she needed, a sewing machine. Yet the price, 2,000 naira, towered above her meager earnings. Late one evening, she retrieved the tarnished gold bracelet, her grandmother's last gift. Its filigree loops and tiny gemstones were priceless to her heart, but its market value could buy that machine. She slipped into the yard and opened the guest house's back door. Marcus was in the kitchen, cleaning a pot. Elara, voice trembling, Marcus. He turned, eyebrows arching at the sight of her bare arm. Marcus, where's your bracelet? She pressed her hand to her chest. Elara, I sold it. His face went pale. Marcus, you what? Elara, brave smile for a sewing machine. I couldn't keep making everything by hand. He stared at her, disbelief warring with anger and pride. Marcus, that bracelet, your grandmother. Elara, soft but firm, is still with me. In every stitch I make, every pattern I draw. She'd want me to create, not hoard. He exhaled slowly. Marcus, and you have the money? Elara, he comes tomorrow to deliver. He paced, then stopped before her. Marcus, you could have asked me. Her eyes flashed. Elara, you forgot my birthday. You ignored my dreams until that merchant arrived. This is mine. He ran a hand through his hair. Marcus, you're right. I should have offered. Elara, this time, let me do this alone. He studied her, saw the fierce light in her eyes. With a nod, he stepped back. Marcus, then tomorrow, we bring it in here. I'll help you set it up. She allowed herself a small smile. The next morning, as the merchant's cart rumbled in, she handed over her hard-won bills. He handed her the gleaming sewing machine, cast iron, polished wheel, and pedal. She traced its curves like a lover's face. Merchant, treat her well. Elara set the machine on a sturdy plank table in the workshop. As the afternoon sun spilled through the shutter, she pressed the pedal. The wheel turned, gears humming, thread dragging through its eye. She fed the fabric under the needle, and the machine leapt to life, stitching with a speed her hands could never match. Tears slid down her cheeks as the first seam formed perfectly in place. Outside, Marcus watched from the doorway, a gentle pride in his posture. Elara met his gaze, and something unspoken passed between them, respect. That night, the workshop glowed by lamplight. Elara sat before the machine, sketches piled beside her, cloth and trim at her feet. Each dress she crafted now flowed from her vision with mechanical precision, pleats matched, hems even, sleeves symmetrical. As the gears whirred, her soul poured into every stitch, anger, hope, longing, and triumph. Marcus found her there well past midnight. He hesitated in the doorway, watching bolts of fabric transform beneath her hands. A half-finished gown, a vibrant turquoise sheath trimmed with bronze filigree, hung from a nail above her head. "Marcus, softly, you're still here." She paused the machine, dust motes dancing in lamplight. "Elara, I can't stop." "Not now." He stepped in, picking up the gown. He ran his fingers over the delicate pleats. "Marcus, it's beautiful." "Elara," voice low, "I'm making it for a merchant in Lagos. He wants 10 pieces. He looked at her then, really looked. The exhaustion under her eyes, the determination in her posture. He saw not a passive wife but a creator, a force. "Marcus, let me help you organize. We'll need measurements, inventory, deliveries." She searched his face, uncertain. "Elara, why?" "You've already done enough." He set the gown down gently. "Marcus, because I believe in you now." Silence bloomed between them, heavy with everything unsaid. She rose and faced him. "Elara, then stay." He closed the distance, reaching for her hand. "Marcus, I will. Whatever you need." She nodded, relief and joy flooding her chest. She slid back onto the machine, demonstrating the cradle-like motion of the pedal. "Elara, then teach me to manage the orders. Show me how to talk to buyers." He smiled. "Marcus, deal." Together, they organized sketches, counted bolts of cloth, and planned routes for delivery. The night deepened, sharing their energies beneath the flickering lamp. Outside, the world slept, but inside that little workshop, something bloomed, trust. By the time the first light of dawn tinted the sky pink, they had laid out 10 dresses, each tagged and ready. Elara closed her sketchbook with satisfaction. Marcus pulled her into a gentle embrace. "Marcus, look what you've done." Elara, smiling through tears, "Look what we've done." And as the sun rose over Igbroodo, its golden rays fell on a couple no longer bound by obligation alone, but engaged in a partnership forged in creativity, respect, and the shared promise of a new tomorrow. The dusty light of late afternoon filtered through the workshop shutters, dust motes dancing in the air like tiny fireflies. Elara sat at the sewing machine, her fingers moving in a blur as she adjusted the hem of a midnight blue kaftan. Each stitch was deliberate, precise, her confidence in full bloom. Marcus lingered in the doorway, arms crossed, watching her silhouette outlined by the golden light. He cleared his throat. "Marcus, softly, you've been working later than usual." Elara looked up, brush of sweat on her brow. "Elara, I want to finish these orders before I leave for the festival." Marcus stepped inside, scent of earth and fabric mingling around him. "Marcus, the festival is next week. You could rest." She shrugged, guiding the fabric beneath the needle. "Elara, I don't sleep when I'm excited. Every stitch brings me closer." He approached the work table, picking up her sketchbook. Pages fluttered open to new designs, angular jackets, flowing gown capes, bold contrasts of indigo and gold. His eyes traced the lines. "Marcus, quiet admiration these, they're unlike anything I've seen." She paused the machine, rising to stand beside him. "Elara, I'm pushing myself. I need to." His gaze met hers, something unspoken passing between them. He noticed the fire in her eyes, the set of her shoulders. Gone was the hesitant bride, here stood a creator, fully realized. "Marcus, I'm proud of you." Her smile was small but genuine. "Elara, thank you." He hesitated, then added. Marcus, if you ever feel overwhelmed, tell me. She placed a hand on his arm. Elara, I know. But right now, I need to see this through on my own. He nodded, accepting her boundary. As he turned to leave, she called after him. Elara, Marcus, are you coming to the festival opening? He paused with a foot on the threshold. Marcus, voice low yes. I wouldn't miss it. She watched him go, then returned to her machine, the workshop now humming with electric possibility. Outside, the compound was quiet, but inside, her ambitions roared like a storm about to break. The morning of the festival arrived under a sky streaked with crimson and gold. The town square had been transformed, colorful banners fluttered from palm trees, stalls lined the courtyard selling handcrafted jewelry, pottery, and street food. At the center stood a makeshift runway, polished planks laid out like a ribbon of opportunity. Elara slipped through the crowd in simple clothes, clutching her new collection in garment bags. She'd registered under a pseudonym, Oge Designs, to let her work speak before her name. Marcus waited near the judge's table, adjusting his jacket and scanning the faces of the assembled dignitaries. Judge, whispering to another, heard a newcomer is entering several pieces. Family name unknown. Marcus murmured to himself, I hope she wins. Elara approached the backstage area, heart pounding. The traveling merchant stood by her side, offering a studying nod. Merchant, remember, confidence. She inhaled, smoothing her skirt. Elara, softly confidence. One by one, designers showcased their work. A local weaver displayed vibrantly dyed wrappers, a teenager presented beaded sandals, a tailor unveiled a sharply cut blazer. Each applause raised the bar of anticipation. Finally, the MC called. MC, into mic now, presenting Oge Designs. Elara's models appeared on the runway, each wearing a piece from her festival capsule, a cobalt dress with origami-inspired folds, a cream blouse with metallic embroidery, and a final piece, a dramatically draped gown with a high-low hem in sunset hues. The crowd murmured as the first model glided past, then erupted into cheers as the last model struck her pose. Backstage, Elara pressed her hands to her chest, breath coming fast. Marcus stood at the edge of the crowd, eyes shining with pride. He clapped, then pushed through the throng to find her. Marcus, you were incredible. She emerged, cheeks flushed with adrenaline. Elara, did it go well? He took her hand, pulling her into a small embrace. Marcus, better than well. You stole the show. She exhaled, relief mixing with excitement. Elara, this is just the beginning. As the MC called for finalists, Elara and Marcus stepped aside, squeezing hands. The festival buzzed with energy, but for them, time slowed, two souls connected by creativity, ready to face whatever came next. Silence fell as the MC raised the microphone, tension crackling in the humid air. MC, and the winner of this year's Viralvideo Festival Design Competition, is Oge Designs. A roar of applause erupted. Elara's models clustered around her, cheering, while confetti cannons exploded in vibrant hues overhead. Elara stood frozen, shock and joy warring on her face. Marcus's arms swept around her waist, steadying her. Marcus, shouting over the noise, they're calling your name. She pushed past him, stepping onto the runway as the judges approached. The head judge, a stately woman in a gold-embroidered wrapper, clasped her hands. Head judge, your designs show both innovation and respect for tradition. Your win is unanimous. She handed Elara a sculpted trophy, a small brass figure of a seamstress at her wheel. Elara, voice trembling, thank you so much. Backstage, well-wishers swarmed her, fellow designers, merchants, townspeople. Cameras flashed, strangers gushing praise. Villager, you've made us proud. Merchant, see? I told you they'd love it. Amid the cacophony, Marcus guided her to a quieter corner. Marcus, they think you're a legend. She pressed the trophy to her chest. Elara, I still can't believe it. Marcus, you deserve every bit of this. She looked up at him, tears glinting. Elara, I couldn't have done it without you. He shook his head. Marcus, no. You did this. I just stood by. She kissed his cheek, setting off another round of cheers from nearby onlookers. As evening fell and lanterns lit the square, Elara stood on the stage again to give her acceptance speech. Her voice rang clear. Elara, thank you, everyone, for believing in me. This victory is for my grandmother, who taught me to dream. And for a promise that led me here. The crowd cheered wildly, and Marcus felt a surge of emotion, pride, love, and a fierce protectiveness. The win was hers, but in that moment, they both knew their journey had only just begun. The morning after her victory, the compound was alive with excitement. Word had spread beyond Igbroodo, traders and villagers gathered at the gate, eager to congratulate Elara. Marcus greeted each visitor with a firm handshake and canned smile, but his mind raced back to last night's speech. He replayed her words, this victory is for a promise that led me here. In the workshop, Elara organized her trophy and a stack of congratulatory letters when Marcus slipped in. Marcus, I woke up thinking. She looked up, brow furrowed. Elara, thinking? Marcus, about how little I knew you before all this. How I married you without really seeing you. She set down the letters, concern flickering. Elara, Marcus. Marcus, holding up a hand, no apologies. I just realize now that I took you for granted. I honored my grandmother's wish, but I never honored you. Elara's eyes shimmered. Elara, you've honored me every day since then. He shook his head, stepping closer. Marcus, not enough. I see you now, the artist, the force of nature. I want to help you be seen by the world. She placed a gentle hand on his chest. Elara, you already helped me more than you know. You believed in me when I doubted myself. He reached for her hand. Marcus, let me believe in you even more. Let's show them what we can do, together. She smiled, warmth spreading through her. Elara, together. They embraced in the morning light, the workshop door opened behind them as if inviting the world in. Outside, the dusty road waited, ready to carry them both toward horizons they could only begin to imagine. By midday, the workshop desk was buried under letters, telegrams, and hastily scribbled notes. Fashion boutiques in Ilorin, Abeokuta, and even Lagos sent emissaries begging for Elara's creations. Each envelope bore lavish stamps, official seals, and promises of partnership. Elara sat amid the chaos, reading one letter after another. Marcus stood behind her, tea in hand, when she looked up. Elara, they want me to provide 6 gowns for the Lagos Fashion Week. Her voice trembled with excitement. Marcus, 6? That's amazing. Elara, and this one, she held up a telegram, asks for 5 custom pieces monthly, with a deposit up front. He whistled softly. Marcus, the deposit alone could buy 3 more sewing machines. Her eyes shone. Elara, we'll need more hands, more materials. She trailed off, overwhelmed by the scope. Marcus placed his arm around her shoulders. Marcus, we'll figure it out. She laughed, equal parts relief and joy. Elara, I never imagined this. Marcus, I imagined it for you. They spread the letters across the table, organizing them by urgency and location. As they worked, visitors arrived, a local trader offering exclusive fabric at cost price, a former merchant promising to introduce her to Lagos buyers, even a traveling photographer requesting a portfolio shoot. Photographer, your work deserves to be seen in glossy magazines. Elara nodded, breathless. The walls of the workshop seemed to pulse with possibility. Outside, the compound gates stood wide open, welcoming the future. That evening, they sat under the mulberry tree, their first shared haven, counting orders like precious jewels. Elara, what do you think our grandmother would say? Marcus smiled at the memory of his grandmother's gentle croak, follow your heart, boy. Marcus, she'd be proud. Elara leaned against him. Elara, I'm proud of us. Marcus, to us, then. He raised an imaginary glass. She clinked it with his, laughter mingling with the cicadas' song. As darkness fell, the workshop lantern cast a warm glow on their faces. The letters lay around them like a map to a new world, one they would explore side by side, partners in every sense. And in that moment, the promise that began it all no longer felt like a chain, but the spark that set their shared destiny alight. Inside the workshop, bolts of cloth lay stacked like silent witnesses to Elara's soaring success. Marcus lingered at the doorway, gaze fixed on the latest sketch pinned above her sewing machine, a sweeping ball gown that seemed to glow even in lamplight. Yet tonight, the humming machines and clacking needles felt like a backdrop to something far more urgent. He swallowed hard and stepped forward. Marcus, voice low. Elara, we need to talk. She paused mid-stitch, needle poised in midair. The room's warmth shifted, charged with unease. Elara, what is it? He crossed the floor, picked up a scrap of deep emerald fabric, and let it drift through his fingers. Marcus, I've been thinking about why I married you. Elara, quietly, I thought you knew. Marcus, I honored my grandmother's dying wish. I promised to protect you. But I never promised love. Her breath caught. The machine's hum felt distant, the cloth slipping from his hand. Elara, Marcus. Marcus, cutting her off. I married you out of duty, not desire. And every day since, I've regretted that I never started with truth. Tears pricked Elara's eyes. She pushed away from the machine and faced him under the single overhead bulb. Elara, so all this, our partnership, our successes, it's built on a lie? Marcus, it began that way. But watching you create, watching you fight for your dreams, I realized I fell in love too late. A shaky silence stretched between them. Outside, cicadas droned through the open windows. Inside, their hearts thundered. Elara, you should have told me sooner. I deserved honesty. Marcus, stepping closer. I know. I'm sorry. I was afraid of losing you. She brushed a strand of hair behind her ear, gathering strength. Elara, you risked that anyway. Marcus, I do every day, because I can't imagine my life without you. Her eyes glistened. The shards of duty and regret began to mend under the weight of his confession. Elara, then let's stop pretending duty is enough. I need to know you love me. He cupped her face, eyes shining. Marcus, I love you, Elara. Not because I promised it, because I finally see you. She leaned into his touch. The machines clicked back to life as they stepped closer, weaving a new promise, one of truth, respect, and love born from hard-won honesty. Sunlight spilled into the courtyard as Elara read the telegram again. Invitation, Lagos Fashion Week, solo showcase. All expenses paid. Reply by sunset. Her heart pounded. This was the moment she'd dreamed of, but it meant leaving Igbroodo, leaving Marcus, leaving home. She found him beneath the mulberry tree, reviewing orders. Elara, voice trembling. Marcus. Lagos. Marcus, looking up your invitation? Elara, they want me to launch my own showcase. In Lagos, with full backing. It's everything I ever wanted. He studied her face, hope flickering in her dark eyes, fear in her trembling hands. Marcus, that's incredible. Elara, it's the opportunity of a lifetime. But it means leaving you, and this town. He rose, stepping close. Marcus, Elara, you deserve to conquer Lagos. I'll support you. Elara, but at what cost? Our partnership, us? He took her hand. Marcus, if you go, we'll make it work. I'll help run the business here while you build your brand. We'll talk every night. I'll visit on weekends. She shook her head, tears brimming. Elara, I can't drag you into my world of skyscrapers and editors. You've built a life here. Marcus, my life is with you. I'd follow you to the ends of the earth. Silence settled as cicadas droned overhead. Elara leaned into him, resting her head on his shoulder. Elara, I always thought I wanted the world, but maybe I only wanted you. Marcus, then stay. Elara, softly stay, or go. She pulled back, eyes searching his. Elara, I need to decide for myself, without guilt or fear. Marcus, take all the time you need. I'll be here. As the sun dipped below the rooftops, Elara held the telegram like a compass. Tomorrow, she would choose her path. Dawn broke with a rosy hue. Elara packed the last of her sketches into a sturdy leather satchel. Each gown folded with care, each pattern rolled like a scroll of her dreams. Outside, a rented carriage waited, jingling harnesses. Marcus arrived, weary-eyed but resolute, carrying 2 cups of steaming coffee. Marcus, morning. Elara, forcing a smile, morning. They sat on the guesthouse steps, coffee cooling between them. Elara, I called the carriage. They'll take me to the station. Marcus, then, this is goodbye? Elara, or a new beginning? He swallowed, heart nodding. Marcus, what did you decide? Elara, voice breaking. I'm going. He nodded, tears pooling. Marcus, I'm proud of you. Elara, I would rather leave knowing I tried, than stay forever wondering. A tremor ran through him. Marcus, then go. And conquer the world. She stood, embracing him fiercely. Elara, thank you, for believing in me. Marcus, always. They drew apart. In the courtyard, neighbors gathered, the potter, the merchant, the butcher's wife, all offering blessings and tears. Elara walked through their circle, each farewell like a dagger and a salve. At the gate, the carriage driver dipped his head. Elara turned back. Marcus stood beneath the mulberry tree, sun haloing his figure. She raised a hand. He waved, voice raw but steady. Marcus, come back soon. Elara lifted the satchel and stepped into the carriage. As the door closed, she saw Marcus's face, etched with pride and sorrow. The carriage lurched forward, wheels crunching gravel. Through the window, she watched Viralvideo shrink, her roots and her wings. The train station was a cacophony of whistles, porters, and suitcases. Elara inhaled the scent of coal smoke and polished wood, heart thundering with anticipation. She clutched her satchel, feet aching in borrowed heels. Marcus stood on the platform, coat slung over his arm, eyes never leaving her. Porter, ticket, ma'am. Elara, handing it over, thank you. She boarded the carriage, settling beside the window. The porter gave a nod, the whistle blew. Marcus sprinted alongside as the train began to move. He reached her window, breath ragged. Marcus, promise me you'll write every day. Elara, I promise. Tears spilled. He pressed his palm against the glass. She pressed hers against his. The gap widened as the train's wheels clattered faster. Through the haze of motion, Elara saw the townspeople gathered along the fence, small faces pressed to railings, waving. The potter, the merchant, even little Titus dancing. Elara, softly, to herself goodbye, home. Marcus's figure blurred, but his voice carried on the wind. Marcus, voice echoing, be legendary. With a final wave, he fell back. The train rounded the bend, taking Elara toward Lagos and into the unknown. Her chest tightened, grief and exhilaration intertwined. As the station receded, she pressed her forehead to the cool glass and whispered, Elara, watch me. 5 years later, the red dust of Viralvideo stirred under a sweeping train's wheels. Elara stepped onto the platform, taller, poised, draped in a couture coat bearing her signature trim. A roar of applause met her as the crowd surged forward. Townspeople who had watched her depart now cheered her return as the queen of fashion. She paused beneath the same mulberry tree where she and Marcus first confessed love. He emerged from the crowd, silver-streaked in his hair but with that same steady gaze. Their eyes met, and 1,000 memories flickered between them: promise, betrayal, triumph, love. Marcus, grinning, look at you. Elara, smiling, I look like a legend. Marcus, the legend came home. Behind them, villagers waved banners reading, Welcome home, Elara. The merchant hugged her, the potter wept, and little Titus, now a bold young boy, presented her with a single wildflower. As the sun dipped, Elara stepped onto a temporary runway for her homecoming showcase. Models appeared in her newest collection, blouses in sunset hues, gowns with architectural folds, head wraps spun in metallic thread. The crowd held its breath. When the final model struck her pose, thunderous applause cracked the evening air. Backstage, Marcus found Elara, arms around each other. Elara, they still believe. Marcus, because you showed them what's possible. Elara, and you never stopped believing. He kissed her temple. Marcus, you taught me what love looks like. She laughed, tears shining. Elara, I came home not as your promise, but as the woman I became. Under the spotlight, she raised her trophy, a sculpted figure now gleaming with 5 more years of achievement. Around her, the town burst into celebration, fireworks tracing arcs above the dusty rooftops. As the night deepened, Elara led Marcus to the edge of the runway. Hand in hand, they faced the crowd, 2 partners who had built an empire on creativity, honesty, and unwavering support. And in that moment, the promise that began in shadows was eclipsed by the woman she had become, a legend, a leader, and the beating heart of a town that dared to dream beyond its walls. The end.